And I think taking it to the extreme by looking at these 20th century examples, I think the same principles would apply today. As you were hinting at in the last program, Europe moved along the slide away from traditional religion much more rapidly than the United States did. And it probably isn't a coincidence that in stages you moved from the very, very flawed but still relatively coherent European culture of the Middle Ages and early modern era through stages of extreme militarism up to the final implosion in the 20th century. And you could probably say the same thing on like an accelerated timetable for the Japanese and the Chinese in Asia.
I mean, and it's all kind of copy paste, strangely enough, the trajectory of all of these imperial nationalistic forces. It all kind of moves in the same direction, and all of their stories kind of run in a strange way, except for Japan, but only because we stepped in and we spared Japan from going the way that the other two did. But Japan was kind of a unique case, as opposed to Italy and Germany. But that's neither here nor there. But basically everywhere else, it's kind of a similar cycle, strangely enough, of all these big fascistic movements. And communism had this, but in a very different way. So it's interesting how all of the philosophies really do play into very neatly into their final ends.
So now I'm going to transition this into the American context. Broadly speaking, in the broadest sense, can we agree that at least in the maybe less pragmatic, more devoted ends of the Republican MAGA right today, there is a focus on a charismatic leader?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. And I will readily admit, because it's pretty much obvious in all of their speeches, that on the whatever term you want to use, woke, progressive, radical, liberal, left, there is a heavy focus on identity, ethnicity, and there is a sense of a need for perpetual revolution.
Couldn't agree more.
Right, but can we kind of see, and I would also argue that although something like Nazism certainly was culminating a lot of unique trends in German history, it was certainly able to lift itself out of the political abyss, in part by playing on Germans' natural and even understandable fears about the rise of radical leftist communism.
And I think the same thing I said about inaccurate human anthropology will lead to negative results because it doesn't correspond to reality. So I think I see the same thing on left and right today, where the right, I would say, has a more accurate human anthropology because I'm a conservative Catholic, but the way it often manifests when it's kind of put through the machine of American politics is not something I'd like to endorse. So, when I'm watching the RNC, there's more things I feel comfortable agreeing with, but the final product being Trump administration X is probably not something either of us would like very much. And I would say the left has a more inaccurate human anthropology. So therefore, the things I say are even more, the final product is just even more warped in my worldview. But all of them are falling short of what I would see as the ideal human anthropology and therefore the ideal system of government.